Hey guys, Peter here to tell you about the latest from DragonForce. Warp Speed Warrior is out March 15th on Napalm Records. The album has 10 tracks, 49 minutes in length, and this is the band's 9th full-length studio album. They are a British power metal band. And from an overall perspective, this record is very balanced, very dynamic, very fluid, very high octane, as you would expect from any DragonForce record. The beauty of this album is that it balances itself out by adding a few songs here and there that have more of a ballad feel, that give the record a sense of a breather, give the record a sense of a pause. And in my opinion, that's really important, not only to allow the listener to take a break from all of the energy, all of the brightness that this album offers, but it also allows the record to define itself a little bit better. It's easier to see the forest from the trees with those pauses. If the record has every single song having the same sort of intensity, the same sort of movement, it loses itself within itself. It becomes very difficult to tell these tracks apart and identify the uniquenesses within them. Having these breaks throughout the record allows you to better grasp at what the album is consistent of, and it allows you to better grasp the individual songs and get the most out of the overall experience. When it comes to the sound, I don't think this record is going to surprise anybody. It's DragonForce. You came in for a couple of things. You came in for catchy songs, fast guitar playing, and incredible vocals. Well, you're going to get all three. And that, like I said, is not a surprise at all coming into this record. You always know what to expect from DragonForce, and they tend to deliver it very consistently, album in and album out, and this one is no different. Perhaps the main difference of this record is that it has a little bit of an 80s cartoon style vibe to it. If you think about superheroes in the late 80s, early 90s, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, He-Man, Transformers, you name it. I mean, there's more. There's a lot more. G.I. Joe, all of these cartoons, all of these superheroes, Captain Planet, all of these superheroes had one thing in common. They all had great jingles, they all had great theme songs that had energy, that represented the energy of the show through music. This album does that extremely well. It represents the lyrical content in a very high octane format as far as the musical experience is concerned. It's very bubbly, it's very bubblegum style sound. The obvious impact of the synthesizers definitely gives that. It gives the 80s vibe, but always gives this easier to digest bubblegum experience to the songs. I didn't think it was overused, in all honesty. I thought it was nicely blended in with a very aggressive guitars, and I mean aggressive in terms of the impact that they have on every single song. You feel the power within the guitars, you feel the drive within the guitars, the melodies, but specifically once it comes to the solo sections, it's a clinic. This record is an absolute clinic from that standpoint, and it's an album that defines power metal as having a lot of power. A lot of bands these days really depend heavily on the orchestrations or the synthesizers to create great melodies, to create great atmospheres, great soundscapes, but they tend to shy away from giving the ropes or giving the driver's seat to where it needs to be, which is with the guitar sound. This record balances both. There's songs, obviously, that have a little bit more of an emphasis on the synthesizers, but the guitars are never that far behind. And allowing the guitars to have a clear impact from the first to the last track, it's definitely a winning formula for this band, and it stays true to their DNA. I don't feel like they went away from what you would expect from this band. This album, sound-wise, feels very safe. It's a safe record that perhaps the nuance that it has in terms of raising some eyebrows, it's really that 80s cartoon superhero vibe that the sound really portrays well across all the different elements, guitars, synths, and even drums. Drums that are not super impactful, they don't have this oomph to them, but they definitely help catapult the tracks forward and catapult the guitars forward as well. So they do a little bit of the dirty work, if you will, in the background, giving some consistency to the sound. I thought some tracks, they could have pushed themselves even further as far as the drum sound is concerned, because the octane, the level of energy was such that you could add a little bit more volume, you could add a little bit more depth and even a little bit more oomph on the drums, that you wouldn't have lost anything. So the drums always felt a little bit shying away from the spotlight and allowing that spotlight to hit predominantly on the guitars, obviously, but secondarily, sound-wise, on the synths and the synth sound in general. Now, the other spotlight obviously is on the vocals. Mark Hudson is an incredible vocalist, and this album has incredible life. He honestly really delivers a great performance, as you would expect from him. His full range is on display. The way he carries himself and the way he's able to keep up with some of the tempos on these tracks is phenomenal. And then he has the range to bring the mood down, to give a little bit more of an emotional experience to some of these tracks, to give a little bit more of an emotional touch to some of these songs, that obviously allows the overall vocal performance to be very rich, to be as rich as the sound of the album is. So it's one of those performances that it's on point every single song. You honestly feel like you couldn't have asked for more from him on these tracks. He gives it its all, and he always matches the style, the delivery, the sound, the atmosphere of the track with the way he carries the lyrics, with the way he carries the song vocally. This is an album that all around definitely met my expectations. I mean, I wasn't expecting DragonForce to release a record that it's out of the norm, but it's also a record that doesn't really define the band, or is a record that doesn't really showcase something that we haven't really seen before, outside of the nuance of moving their sound into this 80s cartoon style atmosphere, which matches the lyrical content of the record. Obviously, outside of that nuance, the album feels very safe, very close to home, and very expectable as far as the band's DNA and the band's discography is concerned. As far as favorite songs are concerned, let's go with Kingdom of Steel. One of the softer tracks. This is track number 3, and it tells you that while the album starts off with high octane with the first 2 songs, immediately it takes a quick break with Kingdom of Steel. It's a softer track. It has a little bit of a Disney vibe feel to it, and that Disney vibe also adds a cinematic experience, specifically coming out of the melodic side of the sound. It allows itself to grow, to also have a nice size atmosphere, and that nice size atmosphere is what gives it that cinematic overall experience to the song. Now, with the vocals soaring, the vocals really become the protagonist. This is a track where the sound builds the podium, elevates the vocals, and allows the vocals to be on a very identifiable pedestal. That's why also has a little bit of that Disney vibe. Disney songs are not necessarily about the sound, it's about the vocals and the vocal experience. And this track has that cinematic feel to it, but still putting the vocalist in the forefront and allowing it to shine. The only time the sound takes over is during the solo sections. Outstanding, really bright, really energetic, infusing a lot of life, a lot of warmth to the overall track. Next you have Burning Heart. As expected, this is one of those high octane songs where the drums and guitars really rip through it with great sound, great texture, and then you start to see the song slow down in which what I would like to call the pre-chorus. It really slows down after the verses, before the chorus start, in that gray zone there, but that allows the chorus to then explode again with the same level of octane as the verses had. So it's a nice little reprieve before you ignite it again, allowing the track not to sound or feel linear from beginning to end. It's a nice way of adding a little bit of a hiccup, a little bit of a speed bump along the way, making the song feel perhaps a little bit more dynamic, not as linear, but it's a song that stays very balanced throughout. Another song with incredible solos, very dynamic, infusing a lot of energy to the track, which is a trademark of the entire record. Last but not least, we have the Killer Queen. On this song, I have to say the bass is what surprised me, because the bass really pops. Perhaps one of the tracks where you notice the bass the most. It allows itself to blend itself with the experience of the song, with the sound of the song, but you could still hear it quite frequently and quite predominant. And that sets the song apart, at least ever so slightly. It definitely changes a little bit of the dynamics of the track. It's a song that puts the chorus over the top, or that has an over the top chorus, I should say, but it's over the top not just in terms of the vocal delivery, but also in the sound behind it. It creates, once again, this hero cartoon TV show vibe. It's something that's throughout the entire record. It's present, and this song is really well defined. in terms of how it comes across, and it has some more methodic moments that allow you to feel the bass, to grow the bass, and then it hits you with that more impactful chorus, creating a nice wave of movement, sound, and vocally as well. Really interesting song, really great song, a great song with a great vibe that really represents well the overall record. This is it, DragonForce, Warp Speed Warriors, out March 15th on Napalm Records. Let me know your thoughts on the band, on the singles. Hit me up in the comment section, and I'll see you all at the next video. Take care, guys.